it wasn't even a plan B. I guess the idea to build the replica and to unveil it on the 75th anniversary and do it at Anderson Park and do it with the families and do something for the anniversary, you know, it wasn't a plan B. It was really born out of the fact that I'd failed to, you know, raise the support that was needed for the expedition to Burma for the 75th anniversary. And, you know, then you're left with, you know, can you do this in 8 weeks? And you know, the reality of it was that there wasn't a hope in hell of building that aircraft in 8 weeks. And but you had to do something and you had to try. And I guess part of building the aircraft was that even though the likelihood of you getting that aircraft to that location on that day was highly unlikely, at least you were trying and at least you were doing something. And I mean, it's important to remember that, you know, the 75th anniversary of the final flight of Sir Charles Kingsford Smith and Tommy Petherbridge in the Lady Southern Cross, you know, the day that these men died, such an important day for our history, and no one was doing anything, no one. And you know, there's a, you know, you got this sense from the families and you know, the people closely involved with this history. You know, that it was such an incredible letdown when the expedition didn't go ahead. That not to try and do something else, not to honour these men on that day, was just, you know, you can't not do something. And even if you think you're not going to get there, at least you're trying, and at least somebody cares enough, I guess, to do this for the family.
At the time of deciding to build the plane for the 75th anniversary, I didn't think it was a crazy concept. I thought it was achievable, I thought it was doable. However, it was probably about 2 weeks into it, I knew I'd put my foot in my own mouth, and I'd probably dug a fairly deep hole that I wasn't quite sure of how I was going to get out of.
I've done a lot of big projects with tight deadlines, and you know what is going to be required to do this. And you know, look, I mean, the reality, you know, the reality of it was that we had no idea. You know, I mean, no one's ever built one of these aircraft. They haven't been built for 75 years.
I probably shouldn't have taken the job on. See, it was just my dumb-ass idea. Why don't we just do it anyway and see what happens? I'm sure we're going to be able to complete it, and we'll just make it happen. You know, that was the idea, wasn't it? You know. Of course, you never quite think that Damien's going to be able to pull off an event, even if we do get the plane built. Truly, you know, you just think, oh, well, we'll just build a plane. We'll do that in a few weeks, no problem. And if it doesn't happen, Damien won't make it. Damien would have an event to go to anyway. And then the event started to happen and the plane didn't. And about halfway through the time we decided to build the plane, complete the plane, and the time we were supposed to display the plane, I had a feeling we weren't going to make it. And that's when I suppose we needed to bring in some extra hands.
You know, probably about 4 weeks into the build, and you start to realise that, you know, you're just not getting there. And I mean, you know, I mean, the reality was Jeremy was, you know, dragging the chain. I mean, that was the reality of it. You know, as much as you crack the whip, there's only so fast he could go. And I was kind of stuck, you know, because, you know, I needed Jeremy to really move on. There was a lot of stuff I couldn't do. I just couldn't do it. It was as simple as that. And without Jeremy, you know, it was impossible. And, you know, Jeremy realised the same thing. I mean, he realised, you know, about halfway through the build that we were running behind and that we weren't going to get there. And, you know, I remember him turning around to me, you saying, get your brother in here, And, that was just the last thing that I needed at that point in time, to have my brother down here and, because, we're like, I can't even describe us. I mean, if we're together for 10 seconds, we're going to kill each other, and it was as simple as that. But, I knew as well that to get this project done, we're just going to have to do it. And, fortunately, he did come down. And, what happened was exactly what we thought was going to happen, which was, we started trying to kill each other, but at the same time, the build just took off. I mean, it really took off.
I was happy to see Jason, and Jason came on board late in the project, really, and did a hell of a lot of work to get that project moving and maintain its momentum. There's no doubt about that. And anyone will tell you that without Jason, we would not have made the 75th anniversary deadline. That's a given, and I think we all know that. And he invigorated the project to a large extent. I think even Damien would acknowledge that. So
I think at the end of the day, you can always rely on family, and no matter what our differences are, and no matter how difficult it is for us to work together, there's a job there to be done, and it had to be done, and it's as simple as that. And if you can't band together for that brief moment and finish the job and pull this off, then what hope do you have? And I think that's really what happened. I mean, Jason walked in, and he walked in, it was like a sandstorm walking in the building, and with it came, an incredible energy and a renewed passion and a renewed drive. And, I honestly think he gave us both a kick up the arse, Jeremy and I, and things started moving a lot quicker. They were moving fast prior to that, but sometimes that little extra bit of help is what you need to get going.
As it grew momentum, I think a lot of people got enthusiastic about what we were doing, whereas in the beginning they were confused, wondering what the hell we were doing, and I was wondering the same thing, I must say. But I think as it did grow and it did become, or start to become, a realisation, and not just a fantasy, or not just a pipe dream, I think more people got involved, and they gave up their time for what we were doing, and wanted to achieve.
Charles Kingsford Smith is one of those people who is just an inspirational figure, and as hard as the job gets, and as hard as the challenges get, for us in what we're doing, you only have to look to Kingsford Smith for inspiration, and then when you start to see how many people have been inspired by him as well, it just reconfirms, that you're doing the right thing, and that you are pursuing something that is very, very, very worthwhile. And it amazes me. It just amazes me how many people Sir Charles Kingsford Smith touched, and still affects today, and still inspires people today. And I think that's the beautiful part, one of the most beautiful aspects of working on this project.
Don't just watch history, be a part of it. Become a history maker. historymaker.net.au